art does not exist in a vacuum. The art happens because it is being filtered through my consciousness. But I am very drawn to movies which use form in a very good way, because for me, cinema is a language.
So, Bharatwaj Rangan, who's in 10th standard giving board exams, time travels to 2021 and looks at this Bharatwaj Rangan. What would go in his head?
It's not whether I'm good or not, because that is something that I try to be. It's also the question of whether I'm relevant or not. See, Malayalam cinema in the 80s was this amazing series of works. So it's always a thrill to discover older films and then say, oh wow, this is what the fuss is all about. This is one thing that people have to understand. It takes money to put out videos that you are consuming for free. They all think I'm the only person there who takes all the decisions. And Baradwaj Rangan, why are there no subtitles? Baradwaj Rangan, why is this not happening? Why is that not happening? It's like,
Do you get existentials anytime in life? What's the point of writing anything like that?
I generally think people in Twitter get excited too much about very minor things. I don't know. I feel there is a lot of political correctness that has come. Human beings are so flawed that I want to see very flawed people on screen. The biggest example in recent times of what people really want is the mega success of Bahubali, from north to south, from east to west. See, anything can happen at any point in time. There is no safety or guarantee in any job, right?
Yeah.
When you take it like this, I say this is actually the easiest time for you to become a critic or a reviewer, because
Hello guys, I'm Nona Prince and welcome to another podcast. This one was really special because today's guest is someone I really look up to, and I'm sure you all know him and love him, the renowned film critic Mr. Baradwaj Rangan. And it was just a delight talking and listening to him. He had some great insights about movie reviewing, his career and the future of movies. So sit back, relax and enjoy this one. Now all the audio versions for this podcast as well as the previous ones are available on Spotify. So if you just want to hear us, check it out on Spotify. The links are in the description. And as always, if you enjoy, like, share, subscribe for more. All right. So how are you, sir? First of all.
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Been watching all your stuff. You're doing really good work.
Thank you, sir. Just want to start with big admirer. I think Ronak's podcast actually helped me, frame these questions for today. And I think for me, it's like my attempt at doing understanding Bharadwaj Rangan, like understanding
There's
money.
nothing to understand in me like this. Yeah, but sure. So good to meet you as well, because I've been following the work that you've been doing, and it's really good to kind of get this different point of view about Southern films, and to get it so consistently. So I think, and that obviously takes a lot of time and your effort from your side. So I'm glad you're keeping at it, and good luck.
Thank you, sir. I like got to know about you like 3 years back, and when you were starting posting the
I love
videos.
this. Usually people say, I started reading you when I was in LKG, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel 100 years old. So I just love it that you've known me for only 3 years. So,
For me, it's like I got into cinema only like 4-5 years back.
Okay.
Like, for me, before that, cinema was just, an occasional thing, 4 times a year in a theater, that's it, So, in that sense, then when I discovered you, and it's like, that's one of my, something that fascinates me, that when I watch your reviews, when I read your reviews, I'm like, oh my God, this is what, happens in my mind too. And, it fascinates me how, someone from, another part of the country with different life and everything, and still, having a same thought process about a movie, that really fascinates. I'm not saying that, I know better than you, nothing like that, but
no. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So, and that's my, aim of this session, that try to understand, how you think, how you process things. And, with that, first thing I want to ask, do you feel sometimes burden of watching everything? Do you get tired of watching films?
I know, because see, the thing is, I've been at this for 18 years. If I got tired of watching films, you can't do this job. You have to love films.
Yeah.
Films are like I've said this many times. They're like people, they're like your relatives, right? During the lockdown, you spend every day with, let's say, your mom, dad, uncle, aunt, whatever. You're going to get bored seeing the same faces, but that doesn't mean there can't be interesting moments as well.
Yeah.
I always think of that. It's like because if you're going to go only after the really great films, you'll be left with just 10 films a year. It's like, so you have to like films enough to like films despite certain imperfections. Try to like things that are working for you. And my approach to reviewing has always been, rather than a verdict, I always like to say ABC things worked for me, and this DEF things did not work for me. So whatever it is, So I rarely otherwise that's always been the way I look at it, because I've never found a movie with, I mean, of course there have been stuff, but rarely have I found movies with all virtues and no vices, or that's so bad that there's nothing good in it. So it's like movies are always somewhere in the middle. So
Yeah, I always take the example of food, that movie is not a dish, not a cuisine, it's the whole buffet.
Yeah.
You like thing, you don't like thing, and you cannot give it one verdict like that.
see, the thing is also that like a buffet is a good example, because if you want to become a reviewer, you have to like all kinds of food.
Yeah.
Like a food critic, right? So you can't say I don't like Indian food, it's too spicy. Then you can't become a food critic. You have to
Yeah.
kind of have that taste for all kinds of food. Similarly, for a film critic, you can't just say I like only like the esoteric Malayalam cinema or whatever it is. You have to like commercial Telugu, Tamil cinema. You have to like commercial Hindi cinema. You
Yeah.
have to like, I mean, and be able to, like, for example, if you say that like a Radhe is bad, for example, then you should be comparing it with other movies of its kind, and you should know enough examples of that kind of movie to know why that movie is bad, rather
Yeah.
than just say, oh, it's just a commercial movie, so it's bad. Then there's no point in anything.
Like I've just been doing it for like a year or two maybe, but when you watch movies, like you need time. You first you need to watch it, then write it, and it sometimes become a very lonely process in that sense, because it's not something, oh, I do this and I can just free my mind, I can do something else, because it's keep going on in your head. So do you find it sometimes lonely, that the whole process of it?
Well, I am an introvert, so the loneliness part of writing is inevitable. You can't write collaboratively unless you're writing a screenplay or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you think about actively. It's you write because you like writing.
Yeah.
I don't write that much anymore, but the point is that whatever you do because you like doing it. I always believe that if something stops being, I won't use the word fun, but if something stops being interesting for you, or if you get jaded, then that's always a problem, because then you're not doing your job properly, because you're kind of letting that feeling affect you. So for me, there was a point this year where I felt that like I had to make a choice between video reviewing and text reviewing, and because there's just so many movies coming out, and it was kind of impossible to keep doing both. So I chose the video medium for now, and and it takes a different kind of writing for that. I'm trying to be more spontaneous in that. You're trying to tell a story through my reviews, rather than just like say this is good, that is bad, or whatever it is. But you keep evolving, and I think that's the key, because the liking for movies is always going to be there, but how people consume reviews is going to keep changing. Earlier reading was the only way, then television came and people started watching TV reviews, reading less.
Yeah.
Then internet happened, and they were reading on the internet for a bit. It came back again for a bit. Now reading has again taken a back seat. Tomorrow reading may again become like big again. You don't know how things work. So I think so it is just thing like that.
Recently I was doing this same podcast with Rahul Desai, Vishal Menon, and Suchin, and we were talking about this, the new age, you can call it, of reviewing, that now you can, anyone with opinions can, with the help of social media, can broadcast it anywhere. So do you think that will indirectly or directly impact the way you do it, or the way traditionally it's done? Because not to judge them, but it's kind of a dumbing down of okay, what is a review? Oh, this is good, this is great, and that's it. Like this many stars.
See, any review is an opinion. There is no denying that.
Yeah.
I would like to say that a good review is one that gives you an informed opinion.
Yeah.
It's still going to be whether this worked for me or not. It's still me, right? It's still my opinion. But hopefully, if I'm a good critic, then I will be able to give you an informed opinion about why I think I'm making the points that I'm making. As opposed to just saying X is acting well, I'll probably give you a scene where something is done, where X did something differently in a different movie or something like that. So the point is to be able to explain your points.
Yeah.
That is what is really important. And if you do that well, I think your review is able to stand on its own as at least, okay, I may not like it, but at least this guy likes it, and he's given me a convincing reason why he likes it.
Yeah.
That's the most you can hope for.
Yeah.
As to other people doing stuff, it's all over the place. Yeah, some people take the tone of trolls, some people take the tone of different things. It depends on what works. Sometimes something clicks, sometimes. See, everybody out there is trying to build a persona.
Yeah.
Right, because that's the most important thing, right? There should be something like, why do I go and watch Baradwaj Rangan? Why do I watch Nona Prince? It's like there's a reason for that. Like people. I mean, whether who has bigger numbers. I'm not talking about numbers or whatever it is, but whoever comes for a particular reason, because there's something about your way of doing things that resonates with them. I think that's what's really important, more than and I've found my niche as I wouldn't say serious critic, but a critic that takes cinema seriously and tries to maybe analyze cinema a little bit, kind of a thing. So that's become my niche, and there are others in that niche too. But if a person doesn't want that, there are other niches as well. See, the beautiful thing about the internet is everything is right. There is no wrong thing, right? There is no nothing that's really wrong.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say dumbing down is happening. I think the world is always dumbed down, because at one point people were reading Baudelaire and Tolstoy and Victor Hugo and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, there was also these paperbacks of steamy romances and things like that kind of. So are we going to go back and say that only one kind is? At the end of the day, people should do what they like and what gives them pleasure. Life is short, right?
Yeah.
So I think if somebody likes watching, for example, I have never been able to get these reaction videos.
Yeah.
I've tried seeing them. I've tried to see the appeal of them, but I just do not get it. I'm like, why would I watch 2 or 3 people look at a trailer and give a reaction video? I don't know. Maybe I haven't watched the right ones or episodes or something, but something about it does not work for me. But they're very popular. So how do you deal with that? It's like, that's not to say I should make reaction videos, but I'm just like, everybody has a way of doing things, and sometimes that way clicks and that becomes a great thing. That doesn't mean that you're dumbing down. It's just another way of enjoying cinema.
Yeah.
A reaction video is just another way of enjoying cinema. It's like, it doesn't mean that everybody has to, don a professor's hat and say, oh, this corner is painted red and therefore, it's some blood or whatever. I don't know. It's like, you don't have to do that. You can just, you can do it according to the way you want. That's the beauty of the internet. Earlier, like, it was just a few people that were allowed to write in magazines and newspapers, and they all took themselves very, very seriously. I love the fact now that you can be on the internet and you can be damn popular and you don't have to take yourself seriously. I love that, because it's like, because everybody gets a say, everybody gets a like a way to kind of do that, and the definition that everybody will give of a good critic or a bad critic will differ. So so it's wonderful. Variety is always nice. It's like earlier it was like a Brits only club or whatever it is. Like in the pre-independence days. Now it's like a Janta multi-cuisine mall food court. It's like like you can do whatever you want. You can get whatever you want. You want Hakka noodles, you can get that. You want burger, you can get that. It's like, and there's so much noise. You choose what you want and go with it. So
that's the point of the action, because I started the channel through that, and it was my, I think, 12th board exams, and I had a long break between exams, and I started like binging them. And I think what appealed was, it was like, to know someone else's perspective on something you enjoy. And I think doing a trailer reaction is like very easy, accessible, just to watch a trailer and know your thoughts. And I think recently there's the new trend of watching movies now. So you get highlights of them watching the movie and that scene. I'm like, oh man, that scene, I love it. How would they think about it?
I get the idea. I'm not able to, like, I don't see why it's enjoyable. I get the reason for it, but it's just, it's something that doesn't work for me. But it works for so many people because those things get hundreds of thousands of views. So
do you think this debate is similar to what Scorsese said, like with good cinema versus Marvel, and Marvel not being cinema is, kind of that debate?
I don't know about that. For example, I thought the last Wolverine movie,
Logan.
Logan. I thought that's one of the best pieces of cinema I've seen. It had everything I wanted in a movie. It had great story arcs. It had great character arcs. It had great narrative development. The screenplay was fantastic. The action was terrific. The character carried over everything that we knew from earlier. I think that's a great piece of cinema. It's also a very entertaining piece of cinema, and I don't know how to compare. It may not be technically Marvel or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I can't like. I don't know which one
Yeah.
belongs to which world and all that kind of stuff. It's a little confusing. But what I'm saying is, it's kind of the Marvel type of cinema, right? But I thought that was an excellent film.
Yeah.
But I love Ant-Man. I thought that's one of the most inventive superhero films that I've seen. Ant-Man and Ant-Man Part 2.
Yeah.
But I have also seen a lot of Marvel movies that are just average and don't do much for me.
Yeah.
For example, everybody loved Wonder Woman. It didn't do much for me. I don't know. I felt the story was very undercooked and it was like, it felt like very generic.
Yeah.
Whereas the heroine character in Ant-Man, I thought she had much more interesting things to do than Wonder Woman herself, who was supposed to be the center of the film. So yeah, I don't think that any particular genre of film is wrong, but I can see where Scorsese is coming from, because earlier it was easier. In the 70s, when he started, it was easier to make a film where film is a form of personal expression.
Yeah.
And now a certain level of corporatization has happened, not just in the movie studios themselves, but also in the minds of the audience, that I don't want to be bored. Now, if you watch Taxi Driver today, there are beautiful scenes that are actually about nothing, but they really add to the character of the movie, because there are these silent stretches and all those kinds of things. But today, when you show them to a person, like, there are people who say The Godfather is too long, it's 3 hours, they can't watch it. So the world changes, right? It's like you can't keep having the same kind of movie. For example, The Irishman, I thought I wasn't as impressed by it as a lot of people were. But I love the silence. I loved that movie. I thought it was an amazing film from Scorsese. But when I saw The Irishman, I was like, okay, it's kind of okay, but I really didn't really like become this great thing in my mind. So I would say that there is space for all kinds of films. It just has to be done well.
Yeah.
The film has to be done well. It doesn't mean that there is only one kind of cinema that's good cinema.
Yeah.
But what he means is that studios are ready to invest money in Marvel movies, despite the fact that they cost so much, and they're not able to, there's a certain amount of money that's not going towards a movie. Like, he's not able to make an Irishman.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, they're willing to spend $200-300 million on I don't know, Infinity, whatever, but they're not willing to spend the Avengers movie, right? But they're not willing to spend $150 million on Irishman. But if you look at it from the studio's point of view, that's very true, because if you release a 3.5-hour movie about old gangsters, aging gangsters, and them looking back at kind of a thing, it's a very tough sell.
Yeah.
It's not like people are going to like clamor, to watch these kinds of films, because the audience wants, at the end of the day, they want entertainment.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happens. And it's what do you do? It's like you need a star. You need for the longest time, Martin Scorsese's biggest hit was, I think, Cape Fear, which was itself a very genre kind of film. But then the people got the basic kicks of watching a family being terrorized by a psychopath, and that's a pretty genre kind of film. Whereas his Last Temptation of Christ and all those films, they didn't do that well at all. So I think there's a difference between, you should take what yes, of course, I respect him and he's one of the greats, obviously, but this particular time, I just thought maybe he's not like really being very, or maybe it's just frustration that he cannot make the kind of movies that he wants to do anymore.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the banter going on Twitter recently between what critics should write and what is an opinion, and what should be the job. So I want to ask you, like, what is your definition of a film critic or a reviewer?
I don't know what is this banter. I rarely go on Twitter except to.
So I think
I kind of retweet my own stuff so that more people visit my website, YouTube site, and kind of this thing. So I really don't participate much on Twitter. What is this?
I think it was some more people from the industry, as well as Tapsi.
The Tapsi. I kind of, somebody told me about it, about Haseen Dilruba, right?
Yeah.
It's like so what's it again? What is
what is your definition? What is a job of a critic or a film reviewer?
I know this is probably my definition, but I look as a film reviewer as somebody who basically reviews a film like a product and says, go watch it or don't watch it. It's like an Amazon product review.
Okay.
So, whereas the film critic is more like somebody who analyzes a film and is able to, say this is working and that is not working. Like I thought, for instance, Haseen Dilruba was quite an interesting premise. There were parts of it that really worked for me. There were parts of it that kind of I thought could have been worked on a little better. I didn't dislike the movie or anything like that, but I didn't love it either.
Yeah.
But there was a certain pulp sensibility that was kind of fun to watch throughout. That was like you rarely find somebody writing in that kind of pulp tone throughout, and from in a female-centric kind of movie.
Yeah.
Because female-centric movies are usually, it's very rare to find pulpy female-centric films.
Would you count Aruvi in that?
Aruvi is not pulpy, no?
Like the whole interview part and
That's not pulp. That's
okay.
more like a satire. This is not. I'm talking about like pulp flavor. The books that Taapsee reads.
Yeah.
That flavor is what they've tried to capture in the movie. And
Yeah.
I have never seen a movie where a woman-centered movie where the predominant flavor was pulp.
Yeah.
Where this is not a movie where you're supposed to believe it.
Yeah.
This is a movie where you're supposed to it's supposed to be an outrageous film.
Yeah.
She came and then she had an affair with the brother-in-law, or she did this, and it's supposed to be sensational,
Yeah.
without necessarily making, it's like you want to keep turning the page. That's the whole point of pulp, right? It's like it's not a realistic world. It's more of a thing that oh, this happened, oh my god, that happened. That's the tone that they tried to done, and I thought that was an interesting thing to watch. So you're saying that created a war about who's critics and who are not.
Yeah, so it basically was that how you are critiquing it and you're making joke of our art, or this is not how you should write about it.
That I think is what I mean. What is it, right? Like see, at the end of the day, if you put your work out, I am as entitled to give my opinion about a Taapsee film as Taapsee is entitled to give an opinion about my review.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm some super pedestal guy whose reviews the final word or something like that. So, she's worked hard on the film. Maybe something she felt people weren't getting or something. I haven't read the reviews really, so I don't know what the exact thing was. But yeah, I mean, I generally think people in Twitter get excited too much about very minor things. I don't know. It's like, when somebody told me this was happening, I was like, really, this is a thing? Like, okay, whatever. So,
what's your relationship with movies? For example, for me, the movie is above everyone else, the actors, the directors, in that sense that whatever the movie is, I'm just, the merit of the movie matters to me, not who made it, how they made it. All of those things should not matter to me. That should not be like, if a great movie is made in pandemic, being made in pandemic is not a reason it's a good movie, in that sense.
Yeah, sure. You cannot give excuses for a movie. Like I have a review coming out tomorrow, which kind of was a tough review to do. It's a movie made with a very, very low budget. You know why there's a certain amateurishness about it.
Yeah.
But that cannot be the reason you say, therefore, you should excuse it. Because, we live at a time where people are making great quality movies with their iPhones.
Yeah.
So, this cannot be an excuse that you don't have because at the very least, even if your budget for technicalities is not much, you can still write a very strong script, right? So yeah, I don't think, excuses like that should go into a movie, or the fact that X person made a movie should kind of affect a thing. But I am very drawn to movies which use form in a very good way, because for me, cinema is a language, and I love directors that use that language well.
Yeah.
Like, even if the movie itself is a little flawed, I love watching the shots, the way they flow, the way the shots are cut, the way certain events are portrayed. For me, that gives me a big high, because that's the whole thing, right? It's so many people.
Yeah.
We are such a dialogue-reliant country that we often forget to. To be fair, maybe it's also the fact that our audiences, they like to hear it rather than watch it in a certain way. But then, it is lovely to watch certain directors kind of a thing. So I have a big fondness for what I like to call the noble failure, which is like a movie that is not a perfect film, and they try to do something, and I know that it's not a perfect film and it's not a something, but I love that term, noble failure, that they
Yeah.
tried, but it's something that I would rather watch than some anonymous movie with some great message or content or something like that, but which has
Yeah.
no craft or no this thing, because for me that does not do anything at all.
Yeah.
So
So Jagme Thandiram would be that, right? Noble failure.
it would be a noble failure. I think it's a very underwhelming film, but I think I didn't find it as unwatchable as everybody
Yeah.
else said it was.
Same.
I mean, I was like, I mean, come on. I mean, the way everybody was talking about it was like it's the worst movie on earth, and I
Yeah.
was like, what? I mean, it's not unwatchable. It's definitely
Yeah.
underwhelming. Sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely not coming together, but is it unwatchable? No. I mean, I didn't find it unwatchable. So
I remember you talking about in your review that in the climax, the pre-interval scene where the camera just keeps moving and moving and moving. And I'm also, someone who very fond of these things. And again, I have this metaphor for that. Every filmmaker has a paper. Someone will just wrap it up and make a ball and play, and you'll have excitement. And 2 hours later, after watching the movie, it goes out in the gutter. And then someone makes a plane.
yeah.
Someone makes an origami. It's like so like that's how it's like you have visuals, you have audio, use it to tell the story, not just okay, this is this.
Yeah.
I think that what differentiates a good and a great movie for me. And I would like to know what's your differentiation, anything like that. Not saying a good or great movie, but something that makes the film stand out for you. Okay, this is the reason this film stands out for me.
There could be many reasons. It could be just powerful storytelling.
Yeah.
It could be a great performance. It could be, the way the movie goes over cliche territory, but yet kind of finds new ways to energize those cliches. Yeah, it could be many things. It could be it could just be the way the songs are staged. I mean, there are so many pleasures that the movies that are a combination of all the arts, right? It could be the way a scene is written. It could be several things. So I really, it's very hard for me to say what makes a good movie and what's a great movie or a thing, because like I said, for me, it's all about these are the things that worked for me and these are the things that didn't work for me. I guess a great movie would be something like, let's say, The Godfather, where almost nothing does not is everything works for you. Like there's literally nothing that you want to cut away from that movie. It's like it's just everything is so perfect in that movie that you just do not want anything to go from that movie. So
yeah, I keep having this debate with my viewers, and it's about I feel that they cannot be a perfect film. If it happens, then it's over. You can stop making films because it's done. That's my perspective on art, that there's no perfect art, because when you as humans, when we achieve perfection, we'll stop doing anything because we have already attained the maximum. So in that sense, do you have any thoughts on that?
I maybe I look at it a little differently. I think it is possible to attain perfection in art, because at the end of the day, art does not exist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Art is something that is perceived by, let's say you're the painter and I am the person who's viewing. The art it happens because it is being filtered through my consciousness.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the painting and I am getting certain sensory signals that is making me look at this or look at that or kind of a thing. So I could find something perfect and just be overwhelmed by it. But the other thing about art is also that it changes over time.
Yeah.
Like a film you watched at one point may work better 5 years later, or a film that you watched and loved at one point may not work for you a little later because you're in a different place then.
Yeah.
So that way, I think art is a very like people treat art like a solid. For me, it's like a liquid. That saying, like art is something that takes the shape of the bowl it's poured into.
Yeah.
And that bowl is the person.
Yeah.
So when you look at art, like it depends on how that person is wired themselves.
Yeah.
And that art becomes that thing viewed through that person rather than something that has only one meaning and like something that is inflexible and just a solid thing that is hanging on the wall or something like that. So
yeah. So Bharadwaj Rangan, who's in 10th standard giving board exams, time travels to 2021 and looks at this Bharadwaj Rangan. What would go in his head?
I would be maybe not very surprised because I was always interested in writing and films and all that. But I think I might have been surprised to have made it a career because at that point I did not know that it was possible to make this a career. So that's definitely there. But yeah, one thing that I'm always surprised by is that like I always used to think that I'm a writer primarily, and now I'm doing so much video that this aspect of it would have definitely surprised me. That I'm doing this stuff in front of the camera, and I think that would have been a bit of a surprise for me. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing something that affects me also is like, how do you build credibility? When I mailed you first and you said, you watch my videos, I'm like, oh my God, he's the legend in this, in this area. And someone you look up to. And then, when you hear that, you're like, oh my God, that means my voice matters in a sense. And then you feel like and I think that's what happens when you read negative comments, not the abuses and anything, but it's when the comments hit your insecurities that really hampers you. How do you, if you do deal with that? And over the years, because I think in Ronak's interview you mentioned that when you started there was no one to look up to. At least I have you to look up to and see okay how he went through his career.
No, what I meant there was that there was nobody doing this kind of like really long reviews, kind of a thing, with basically Raja Sen was at Rediff, Jay Arjun Singh was doing some stuff, and I and a few others. We were the first of the blog generation of critics. And at that time, blogs were exploding in a big way. This I'm talking about 2003, like 2002, 2003. So we were among the first people who actually started writing very, very personal reviews and very, very long reviews. Like earlier reviews were more like a summation.
Yeah.
Whether you would like it or not. But what we were doing is like, I like this. So the I became the thing. So it's like, I'm seeing this. I'm not writing this review for you or whether you will like it or not, but I liked it because of X, Y, Z reason, or I did not like it because of X, Y, Z reason. So that is how we kind of, came up. So I think that has kind of been what it is now. And now that I has become magnified so much more with social media and with the internet, right? Because everything is about your own voice.
Yeah.
Writing has always had a bit of the persona of the writer in it. Like for example, even in fiction, there are certain famous writers that you look up to and all that kind of stuff. But now it's even more so because you've got to put out a face out there or a style out there that makes people, look up to, want to come back to you. So I always use the word relevance. It's like, it's not whether I'm good or not, because that is something that I try to be.
Yeah.
And that is something that is out of my control, because I can only do the review the way I can. It's up to the person to judge whether I'm good or not. It's also the question of whether I'm relevant or not.
Yeah.
Are people still coming to me after 18 years? Are people still watching me after 18 years? Are people still reading me or calling me for interviews after 18 years?
Yeah.
That means there's a bit of relevance still there. That means that people still care about what I have to say. So I think the day this stops, that means you stop being relevant, because you're kind of like out of that, right? You're now people no longer care about what you have to say or not. And I think that becomes when you're pushed out of the system.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of people who ask me, how do I become a critic? How do I become a reviewer? This, that, and all that. I say this is actually the easiest time for you to become a critic or a reviewer, because you have every form of dispersing your review available. You want to do a video, you can do a video. You can do a podcast, you can do a podcast. If you want to do a text thing, you can tweet it out and all that kind of thing. So there is no, how do I put it? There is no
barriers.
So it's like, it's just you put it out there and see where it goes. But if you're asking me what is a guaranteed way of becoming a popular critic, I don't know. Who knows? Yeah. It's like everybody's path is, so different. So I don't know that. Yeah.
I love your social media game, if you want to call that. Like, I think you're the most coolest reviewer out there, because the banter you have with Vishal Menon.
Oh, okay. I think I only talk to Vishal once in a while, and with certain other things. Yeah. It's just like I would not call it as so much a game as It's one of the few people that I feel comfortable talking to on Twitter. So that's all.
I love the way you take criticism, because even I think recently I saw on Twitter, there were people who were complaining about the thumbnail of one of the interview, and you shared it, you retweeted it, and I think that's something really important to stay relevant.
I don't know if that's the relevant part, but my point is that it's like if I'm retweeting things, good things that people are saying about me, then if I feel there is a valid point, see, we all exist in a very weird ecosystem, right? Thumbnails have to attract people.
Yeah.
It's like the equivalent of deciding whether you need a song in a movie or not.
Yeah.
Let's say you make a great movie, but the distributor says you need one song in the movie because, that's going to help me publicize the movie. You don't like to do that, but sometimes you want to do that. Because I know that the interview with Prithviraj is a good interview because he was very open. The conversation was really flowing. I could feel the energy, all that kind of stuff. But then how do I sell this interview? That becomes the important thing, because the people who watch me will always watch it. The people who like Prithviraj will watch it. The idea is also that you are not doing this for free. You are this is one thing that people have to understand, that it takes money to put out videos. It takes money to put out videos that you are consuming for free.
Yeah.
Okay. It takes money for me to hire light people, sound people, camera people, lapel mic, set up the maybe sometimes pay for the location.
Yeah.
It takes money to do all that. And then it takes a lot of chasing to do all that. After all that, you want, and you're getting it for free because you don't want to pay for it. So I'm saying, I agree that was a cheap headline, thumbnail, title.
Yeah.
But I also want, it was a tough call, which you take with people, because it's a tough call, because that the interview is not a cheap interview.
Yeah.
The interview is not a bad interview. It's not like gossipy. It's not something. It's a very, very solid interview. But it's like a poster. So I'm acknowledging the fact that I live in this ecosystem where I have to do such a thing.
Yeah.
And my way of acknowledging it is retweeting it. So I'm not going to answer you because I don't owe anybody an answer, because it's the channel that we run. But you are consuming things for free. See, I would say that at least with movies, you pay $120 and or $200 or $500 or whatever it is. So you earn the right to complain.
Yeah.
Right. Here you're getting content for free. So there are certain compromises that have to be done, because how do we recoup the costs that we are putting into this thing that we are going to give you for free? So I think
makes sense.
Yeah, that's a thing. So I try my best to have interesting, non-star oriented things, but then we are also controlled by certain market forces. Like there are business heads who say, try and do this, try and do that, and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like, the minute anything happens with film company in South, they'll say, they all think I'm the only person there who takes all the decisions. And Baradwaj Rangan, why are there no subtitles? Baradwaj Rangan, why is this not happening? Why is that not happening? It's like, it's not just me. It's a team. It's a team. So it's like I take care of the creative aspect of it, of putting out like a video or whatever it is. There's an editor, there's a producer, there's all these kinds of people. For me, my main thing is forget the thumbnail. That's more like a poster.
Yeah.
Concentrate on the interview. If you think the interview is worth it, that's all that is. If you think the interview is a piece of shit, tell me. Like it's a crap interview, well, yeah, it's okay. If I do 5 good interviews, it's very unlikely that I'll do 5 crap interviews, because the chemistry is not there. Either I'm not in a good zone, or the interviewee is not in a good zone, or maybe they're like, we don't have time to establish a rapport.
Yeah.
A lot of things can happen. So yeah, it's impossible to be at the top of your game every single time. So
yeah, definitely. I think if the content is good, I don't mind the clickbait title. It's
and see, the thing is also that I don't think it's that when that Prithviraj interview happened, it wasn't for me that clickbaity, because what he was meaning by that is because he belongs to Mammootty's generation, kind of, in a way, and even though it's technically more of Dulquer's age, still that bit is there in the interview.
Yeah.
So
there's a context behind it.
It wasn't randomly some something there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand why people would think it's clickbait, and it is kind of clickbait. I want people to watch the interview, right?
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to spend all this effort and all this money, my company's money, and then have nobody watch it. It's like, what's the point, right?
Yeah. I know that you don't look back at your life regrets or something like that. But still, I want to ask: are there any regrets you have? Maybe something
No, it's a see. I have been touchwood very, very fortunate. I chose a career without any idea of whether it would work for me or not. I know a lot of people who want to follow their passion,
Yeah.
and they end up not succeeding. It's like it's the competition is insane. So I think I cannot complain. That's thing. And plus I think regret is a slightly useless emotion because it's about something that you think you should have done. But I wish sometimes that we lived in a place where people read more, were willing to engage a little more, weren't so easily, that they took the time to understand an issue before they started fighting about it or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and that's one of the reasons I don't go much on Twitter. For example, today I was fairly emotional in the morning because Dilip Kumar passed away, and like as a child, I've seen a lot of his films on TV and this and that and all that. And, that Raj, Dev, Dilip, he's the last link to that era and all that. All those fantastic Naushad Rafi songs. And I was so I was a little sentimental in the morning. And so Amitabh Bachchan had this tweet saying, Indian cinema will always be pre-Dilip Kumar and post-Dilip Kumar or whatever, something like that. I mean, I don't know what the exact words was. And in my mood, I just said, well, I agree with the general sentiment, but it's Hindi cinema, not Indian cinema.
Yeah.
Because unlike the US, we don't have one common language.
Yeah.
Where you can say American cinema.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as Indian cinema. It's a lump because there's Hindi cinema, there's Tamil cinema, there's Telugu cinema. When an MGR dies, will you say a Tamil leader dies or will you say an Indian leader dies? It's a Tamil leader.
Yeah.
Right? And there's nothing wrong about it. Similarly, Dilip Kumar never made anything but Hindi films. So it's a Hindi film icon and one of the greatest icons. But then if you call him an Indian film icon, then when a Southern icon passes away, then you've got to call them an Indian film icon and not Malayalam star passes away or Tamil star passes away or something like that. Because what is that? It doesn't make any sense. It's like Assamese star passes away, Gujarati star passes away. What is that?
Yeah.
Because half of the people down south don't know who Dilip Kumar is. They have no idea. They have not seen his films. I would say 3/4 of the people don't know who he is. So to say, call him this great, so that something set it off in me. But then people started, getting very thing about it. And then the minute I saw a couple of responses, I just went off. I just shut the tab because it's like Twitter is the place where you're there till the mood is nice, and the minute the mood turns bad, you just get away from there. So you don't want to be there when the mood is bad. So I sensed the mood was getting a little bad because they were all like, they were like, oh my God, how dare you say this, and kind of a thing. So and this is just after I wrote this very long obit about him, saying what a great man he was and things like that. And after I wrote a tweet saying, like oh my God, such a legend and this and that and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's, I don't know, but it's it's easy to get excitable, I guess. So
is there something you yourself experienced but the newer generation will never? Is that something like that?
I think one of the things that we experienced as kids was because there was not such a flow of movies. We used to see a lot of older films on the big screen.
Yeah.
So I have seen Sholay on the big screen, even though when actual Sholay was actually released, I was like very, very young. So it's like I was not kind of this one, but I've seen it later. I have seen Hollywood classics like Lawrence of Arabia on the big screen. Ben-Hur I've seen on the big screen. 10 Commandments I've seen on the big screen. Because in those days, old movies used to come to the big screen. Or I've seen Mother India on the big screen. I've seen Mughal-e-Azam on the big screen.
Wow.
And this is all stuff that long before I was born, right?
Yeah.
But today, theaters don't do that. They just have, in the US, they have revival theaters where they show older films. But today here, it's like nobody shows older films. Because I guess it's also because you have so many people, like, you can just download it, Lawrence of Arabia, and everybody has a big screen TV or something like that.
Yeah.
But it is still something to see like a Lawrence of Arabia or a Guns of Navarone on like in a theater, like on the 70 screen. And, that famous scene where Omar Sharif first makes his appearance and it's a speck of dust and he's coming towards you and that whole thing is happening. No amount of the big screen is its own thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like even if you take today's movie, like a Logan, we were talking about a Logan. You see Logan on the big screen, the impact is so much more than when you see something on the small screen. See, I genuinely believe that the movie will still work. If the emotional beats are all there, the movie will work regardless of whether you see it on a phone or a tablet or a TV or a big screen.
Yeah.
The movie will still, the basics of the movie will still work because you will still be involved in the plight of the characters. But I'm talking about the effect of the film,
Yeah.
the sound and the image, the size of the image and the projection and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So I think that's been something that I've watched a lot of Indian films like that. That's how I know so much about older Tamil and Hindi films, because I've actually watched them nonstop on bigger screens. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And I also was very lucky that I grew up like when I was in my when at a very young age I got exposed to the films of Benegal and Govind Nihalani and all those kind of, because they used to keep showing them on TV. And so I developed a taste for art cinema at a very young age, and I think that really helped as well, because it's the older you get, the more difficult it is to kind of develop newer tastes.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that I think today's generation might miss, because I don't think, first of all, anybody watches TV anymore, and even if they did, I don't know if you're going to go and seek out these films, kind of a thing. So yeah, but I think everything has its time, and if you ask today's kids, they'll say they have so many more advantages because they can easily see films, they can torrent it, they can there's Amazon, there's Netflix, there's all these things. You don't have to struggle to watch a film, because I used to go to the USIS library, and every Wednesday evening they used to show a Hollywood classic. That's how I used to see the classic, because it is not available elsewhere. So now it's so much easier to watch films. So I don't think there's thing, but those particular things I think help me personally.
You're talking about so many movies, and as I got into Malayalam cinema, I saw the newer ones, and then I was told, oh, this is nothing, go back in the 80s and 90s. I'm like, okay, and I had that same thought process, that okay, it's old movies, how good can that be, and then I watched an Appu trilogy which came out in 56, and it blows away my mind that they did that. Then I recently saw Sholay with my father again. I had the same experience, as I think my best experience in theater was when I watched Avengers, the recent ones, because the whole crowd is we are together, like crying, laughing, everything. And I had the same experience watching Sholay. And then recently I watched Iruvar. My mind is blown away. It's like I think when you start appreciating it, it makes more sense watching these classics, and you understand what's the buzz all about.
Yeah, and also, but on the flip side, I would also say that it's okay, like if you don't relate to, some people will just not relate to something.
Yeah.
Like, something might have been a big hit back then, a cult classic or whatever it is, but now today it might not be. Like, films go out of fashion, sometimes. So, but it's always a thrill to discover older films and then say, oh wow, this is what the fuss is all about.
I was watching Thanya Varthanam, I think, Mammootty's film, and they have this, shaky cam. They're running with the camera. I'm like, oh my god, today also people like it's, with the stabilization and everything, people enjoy it. But in that time, and that adds to the effect of what the film is trying to show, that he's losing it, and it's just outstanding.
Again, when you look at any language cinema, there's a tendency to kind of sometimes club it. See, Malayalam cinema in the 80s was this amazing series of works, and similarly Tamil cinema of the late 70s, early 80s, there's like a great body of work out there. It's like there are phases in which every industry has produced great work. So like today the trend is to say, oh, Bollywood is trash, and like oh, only Malayalam cinema is great and everything else is like Tamil cinema is bad, and like Telugu cinema is terrible and all this. Is like, but then when you ask like Malayalis from Kerala, sometimes some of them say things like, oh, these are all movies meant for people outside. We actually prefer the older films and whatever it is. So it's all subjective. It's like how you react to them. So I've heard stories about how Bergman's films were more appreciated internationally than inside Sweden.
Yeah, I think you talked about the advice, but do you get existentials anytime in life
about criticism?
Yeah, about life, about like what's the point of writing, anything like that ever happens?
No, there is a point. The point is that you're trying to convey your opinion about a film, an informed opinion about a film. Yeah, I mean, it's not what I'm saying is, you do from time to time, I think everybody questions the path they've taken, and sometimes, for example, like I told you, there's two movies dropping every week. You have to do two interviews every week. Sometimes it feels like a treadmill. Like you wish you had a job where you were part of a team, and there were other people to pick up the slack on days when you were not fully out there. But this is rewarding in its own way. So I think just count your blessings. It's like there are so many people who want to be where you are.
Yeah.
And if you've achieved that, then there's no point in trying to like dissect it and try to see what's not great about it or whatever it is. Of course, that will happen only if you're not enjoying your job. I think now you do have like jobs happening, like where people do all kinds of things. So today, like there are many people who, unlike when I was growing up, where you could either become a doctor or an engineer or a chartered accountant, or like the 5 or 6 things that you can become, lawyer, etc. Today, anybody can become anything. There are people become graphic designers, photographers, and they know this at the age of 12 that I want to know. Like it's like I don't know how that happens, but because the exposure is also so much more because of the internet and all that kind of stuff. So I would say that there is always a chance of like where you can tend to overthink, but I would say don't, because it is what it is, and if you think something is not working, then do something to address that, rather than having these existential crises and things like that. So
I actually recently found out that you have written 2 movies also, and your future you are planning to do one more, and I'm someone who came from making movies into this. And you said you want to explore that, and you loved it a lot. So do you think when you make movies and you understand what goes behind a movie, you understand, when you're reviewing a film, you understand what went wrong easily, and you are more maybe biased, if it's not the right word, but to basically, if someone who doesn't understand the making, he's just watching the film for what it is, they'll be like, okay, I didn't like this was bad, and we know something, okay, that's what rang with the camera, okay, screenwriting, they went wrong in this part of it. You're more understanding of the film.
But that's what I earlier said, right? Informed opinion. See, I was always reading screenplays long before I started writing screenplays. I was always like interested in the thing. That is why the reason I wrote was not to kind of understand how to write a screenplay. It was more because I was reading them and I was like, wow, I think I can do this. So that's what really led me to that. But I think that fundamental understanding of why a film works, you don't have to write a movie or anything like that. I think you just have it in you, or you don't have it in you. Like there are, see, the thing is, you should watch a film from your brain and from your heart, and you should really like cinema, to kind of and I think what today a lot of people do not do is that they see, like fiction, like anything, any art, it is your job to submit yourself to the work of art. So you should enter the world of the film and try to engage with that world, rather than expecting the film to reflect your perception of the world. So today, I think that's becoming more of the kind of reviewing that we're seeing, that people want films to reflect the way they think about the world, rather than go into the film and say, this is the film's world. It may be different from my world. For the sake of the movie, I've got to stay in that world it's like Avengers. When you're able to enter the Avengers world and stay there for 2 hours, then why aren't you able to enter a social film's world, which is maybe different from your worldview, for 2 hours and stay in that worldview, right? Because it's everything is ultimately fiction, right? So why should fiction be? I feel there is a lot of political correctness that has come, and it is because the point is that it wants people to be portrayed a certain way, and my thing is that human beings are so flawed that I want to see very flawed people on screen. And I don't necessarily want to see people who, like, I love it if somebody did something and got away with it, rather than be punished for his sins and get a moral science lesson at the end or something like that. Why? It doesn't happen in real life. Why should it happen in films? It's a fiction. It's that director's fiction. Why should we impose our worldview on that? So but I think that's how a lot of criticism has become these days, and that's also become popular. So that's probably how it's headed anyway. So
I'll like flip the question. Now, do you think having reviewed movies, because it's one thing, okay, watching movies, but you are, literally documenting it, what worked, what didn't work. Do you think that, of course, will help in your when you are writing, or that doesn't matter?
No, when you're writing, you're constructing a world, and I don't think. See, I think that comes more from all the fiction that I've read than the movies that I've seen. Because fiction, see, everything is about whether you're writing a book or writing a movie. It's all about architecture, right?
Yeah.
It's about the characters. It's about the architecture of the story. It's about how you want to tell it.
Yeah.
You want to start with a flashback. You want to start with the thing, because flashbacks are not just a movie technique. It can also be in books. Also, you can start with the adult person and then go back. The second chapter can be the same person as a child, which in movies you'd call a flashback, but in a book it's just like that. So I would say a lot of the screenwriting that I have tried to do came more from the fiction than from anything else. Yeah.
Okay, whenever some people say film critic, right, we don't relate them to any commercial or mass cinema, but you are the one, you're like always rooting for it. I think I love that fact. Like I would love to have a session, some other time, just talking about commercial movies. And mostly you see, that people don't the film critics don't really like commercial films. They're like, this is not good, this is not that. But you are someone who's maybe optimistic about it. You like, okay, they did something new, at least I'm really happy, this is fun, this is enjoyable. And I think that roots from, you have watched them throughout your life.
Yeah, and I think you'll, even when you talk to Vishal, he would have told you the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Because this is a way of making film. There is no genre that's bad.
Yeah.
It's only bad films. The genre itself cannot become bad. So you have to understand what a masala movie is if you want to appreciate a masala movie.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't know, or if you don't have the taste for it, and if you've only been watching English movies all your life, and if you've only been listening to English music all your life, then suddenly to get into the zone is going to be very difficult, because it's like having sandwiches and suddenly being asked to eat a very spicy food or something like that. So it's a big shock to the system. But if you've been eating it throughout your life, then that's the movies you grew up on, right? It's not like you started like at age 2, you're watching Kurosawa or something like that. These are the movies the general movies are the ones that you grow up on.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that you kind of see. For me, a movie is a movie. I don't know if I would say commercial or art. The only reason I say commercial or art is because it's meant for many people versus it's meant for festivals or whatever it is. That's the only difference that I make. Otherwise, a movie is a movie.
Yeah.
You judge it with the kind of movie that it's trying to be.
Yeah.
So if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So that's all there is to it. So it's like you there's no, like, you can't compare genres.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's very difficult to kind of compare genres. Like for example, if you take influence, who do you think is a better filmmaker? If you take filmmaking, you would say Scorsese is a better filmmaker than George Lucas. But if you take influence on the filmmaking landscape, George Lucas is miles ahead of Scorsese.
Yeah.
It's also about how that, right? Because film is also about like legacy and things like that. So what happened then, all that kind of stuff. So I think these are complex things that any art kind of, it works, it doesn't work. You just have to be at a place where you're very open to receiving it and taking it seriously. Like I would take a Simba as seriously as I would take any other film, and I would then say, within that world, is it working or not?
Yeah.
Like I'm not, like, because otherwise then why are you even going and watching and reviewing that movie? Like it makes no sense, right? Because then you might as well ask somebody else to review that movie. So
what do you think? Because in Hindi industry, commercial film, they don't really know today how to make a commercial film. I don't remember I enjoyed a commercial movie like I did for Master and KGF. So what do you think is the reason? Is it the cultural thing that in South they have been making it for so long, they know how to make it well, or is it just the execution problem?
No, I thought Super 30 was a very well made masala movie.
Yeah. Super 30 was
I really, really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was a really well-made masala movie after a very long time. I was like, wow, this is really, really something. But I think the main problem, not a problem, but the main thing with Hindi films right now is that most of the filmmakers are people who are not Hindi filmmakers as such. They come from, like, with the exception, there are exceptions like Anand L. Rai and all that, people who Indian in that way, even Anurag, for all his 7 billion video DVDs of European masters or whatever. He's at heart, he can make a Gangs of Wasseypur, which is basically a celebration of Hindi cinema.
Yeah.
That's like that's what he is. But when you look at a lot of the others, they think in English, they write in English, they were very influenced by English filmmakers. So there is no Indianness in them.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, and I was very pleasantly surprised by the fact that Vikas Bell made Super 30, because I didn't know that his earlier films did not give me that sense,
Yeah.
that I was very happy with that film. It was like, it was done so well.
Yeah.
And it's not, so I think that's the real problem, not the fact that you've lost the touch or something like that, but it's because with Tamil and with Telugu, you still find people making films who think in Tamil and Telugu and that sensibilities and for that audience. In Hindi now, people make movies mainly for people with an English anglicized sensibility.
Yeah.
That is the real problem. It's not that see, the biggest example in recent times that of what people really want is the mega success of Bahubali, from north to south, from east to west.
Yeah.
That kind of success cannot happen if complete acceptance from the people does not happen. It's like they were craving for something like that, and they finally got it.
Yeah.
So Rajamouli showed, this is an Indian film, and this is, Indians are going to go in theaters in droves and watch that movie.
Yeah.
So it's that Indianness is not very visible in Hindi cinema today, right? Because you have most movies cater to a very specific subset of a very urban kind of population. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's that kind of movie. If it's well made in that milieu, it is well made in that milieu. I think that's the main problem, that people don't have that sensibility anymore. Like that's what it is. See, like one of the, like when Farah Khan made Nona, she had that sensibility. She knew every cliche from masala cinema, and she reinvented those with humor and with class and grace and style and lots of like a vision. Right? So that movie just really worked like gangbusters. But you don't find people like that anymore. That's the main problem. It's like, it's not that they've lost the touch or something like that. It's just that the majority of people working in Hindi cinema right now are these anglicized kind of filmmakers who are, for better or worse, not very fond of masala cinema. Yeah, so that's what it is.
Recently I did a video of comparing the treatment of Master with War, and I came to the same conclusion, that how much there's so much Indianness, so much desiness into Master, that all the things are connected, the roots. Whereas War is just trying to be Mission Impossible, and set also outside, not even in India. I think that that's the thing which differentiates it very well. Do we still have time?
I would like to wrap up soon.
Yes. So, I want to talk about, so all my podcasts, I ask these people something, and most people are youngsters, and I didn't have this question, but my father asked me, will you ask him this also? And I was like, no. I was like, why not ask him? So it's about relationships and balancing the life, as a, because as I said in the beginning, because it requires a lot of time from your side. And it's not like a 9-to-5 job and you can turn it off.
I think that's true of any job. I think that like you're a filmmaker.
Yeah.
If you're a filmmaker, I have seen people live in cots in their editing suite for months while they're making a movie, while their family is waiting elsewhere.
Yeah.
So compared to that, there is nothing. I don't think there is any there are peculiar jobs. See, I think it's only the government jobs that really allow you to be there at 9 and then leave correctly at 5 and have a 2-hour lunch break. Almost every job, private jobs, are going to take a lot of time. And now see, earlier at least, it was possible to switch off when you came home because there was only a rotary phone.
Yeah.
And people never called after a point, because even if they called, the files would be in office or something like that, and you can't go back or something like that.
Yeah.
Now everything is online, computer, phone, this, that. So work is 24/7. I think the trick is to one of the greatest things that I have done for myself is to not treat Sunday as a holiday.
Yeah.
Is to if Sunday happens, because if X actor says I'm free only on Sunday and I can give you an interview only on Sunday, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
But what I'll do then is maybe I'll take Monday off or I'll take Tuesday off. That flexibility is there.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that every job comes with its own set of challenges, which will affect your friendships, your relationships, your everything, your way of being, your way of thing. Because when people are working to put together a movie,
Yeah.
they forget the outside world exists. And I think that's one of the nicest things. That was one of the more interesting things about Sarah's, which we just saw. It's like,
Yeah.
making a movie is so difficult. And this girl is putting her relationship on the line because she's like, I really want to make a movie, but I don't want to get into the situation. And it's true with a lot of jobs. See, you will find, forget my kind of job, you will find entrepreneurs who are like, all these top-notch CEOs and all that. They're on call 24/7.
Yeah.
They cannot afford to take a time off or something like that. Even on vacation, they'll be checking their phone and stuff like that. That's the world today.
Yeah.
So to kind of expect some magical world where you get Saturdays and Sundays off to spend with the family and go on weekend tour and this and that and all, that doesn't happen, because then you have to choose that kind of a job.
Yeah.
That you have to say, that's my priority and I will choose that kind of a job. If you
Yeah.
don't, then it's kind of then I would say, if you want that kind of a job, then make this a hobby, because here you are at the mercy of the timings of films, the timings of films dropping in theaters or on OTT. You're at the mercy of the timings of film stars, interview schedules. All these things are out of your control completely.
Yeah.
Like this week I have a couple of interviews at a couple of very inconvenient times. So, but what do you do? That's the work. You can't think, and you're enjoying the work. So I think it is very necessary before. That is what I tell people. Like whenever students say, "Oh, I want to become a film critic," and I tell them, "See, listen. From the outside, it looks very glamorous. I'm going to Cannes and Venice Film Festival, and this and that and all that kind of stuff. And it looks like I'm interviewing all the top things and all that. But it's like a treadmill. It's like a non-stop treadmill.
Yeah.
And you have to want to be on that treadmill.
Yeah.
Like today you have a lot of so-called film critics like who spend more time on Twitter than they do actually putting out content, whatever it is. It's like I don't even know why you would be called a film critic if you're not reviewing almost every single film that's out there.
Yeah.
But that's the job. That's the job, and that's why you are given the salary that you're being given, or being asked like you're talking about me. I bow my head to my boss Anupama Chopra. She's like, she runs the company. She can afford to just direct traffic and say, okay, you do this, you do that, but she works harder than all of us put together. She does so much work, and I'm like, that comes from your enthusiasm for the job, your willingness to learn, your realization that we're at a very important turning point in Indian cinema because of OTT. This is a very crucial moment, and if you don't utilize this moment, a lot of things could go wrong.
Yeah.
It's all that happens. It's an unsteady field.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of filmmakers today are very nervous because they had these plans and they have the screenplay written, but then COVID happened, and today there are no financiers because nobody knows when things will happen. So they're not sure what to do now. See, anything can happen at any point in time.
Yeah.
So if there is no safety or guarantee in any job, right?
Yeah.
When you take it like this, if you want that, then you have to take a government job and just be happy. Though even that, as Sherni recently showed us, can cause a lot of angst and trouble. And if you don't toe the line and things like that. So I would say, it all depends on. This is a job. It has its own peculiar requirements. You have to abide by those requirements, and you can't pick and choose the movies you want to review. You have to want to review like almost all the big important films, even if they don't have big stars. That's the job. And if you don't want to do the job, then you shouldn't do the job. But I want to do the job, so I do the job. That's all there is to it.
And last question, do you believe in leaving behind a legacy?
No. Let me put it this way. I'm not working towards leaving behind a legacy, because that means thinking too much in the future, because then I think it might mess with my mind, because I would want to write a certain way or present review videos a certain way. I just think about, for me, it's the now. It's the present that matters, right? If somebody says later that X was this good film critic, that's a bonus. But the point is that whatever content goes out now, that should be the best quality that you can do at that particular point of time.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can really guarantee, because legacy and all these things are all beyond your control.
Yeah.
You could be popular today, tomorrow, 10 years later, people will be like, oh my God, Baradwaj Rangan, he wrote the most boring reviews. It's like, you never know how it's going to be,
Yeah.
received later. So no, I don't think about legacy, but I do believe in trying to do the best that you can for the job at hand, because
Yeah.
that's the only thing you really can control. You cannot, everything else is beyond your control. So
Yeah.
anyway, so thank you, Nona. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And it's been a long, interesting chat.
Yeah, sir.
So,
And thank you, sir, for your time and your insights. And
no,
it
no,
was
not at all. It's been such a pleasure. Really keep up your good work. I love watching what you do.
Thank you, sir.
And keep your enthusiasm for film alive.
Yes, I think for me it's a landmark day in my life, talking to you, and it was just a pleasure. Thank you, sir. Thank you
You
for your
so much.
time. Thank
Thanks.
you. See ya.
Bye
Bye.
bye. See you. Bye.
So guys, that was a podcast. I hope you had a good time, because I definitely did. For more such content, do like, share and subscribe to the channel. If you're new here, do check out other videos, and I'll see you next time. Stay home, stay safe.